This is a quick walkthrough of one of the modifications to the karting microgame. So we're going to look at this karting mod, adding what they call the sweet ride, looking at smart carts and adding carts to this. The main goal of this is to kind of walk you through one of these modifications so that you can be better prepared for the assignment where you'll do one of these modifications. Um, and I also just talk about the Unity interface and tutorials in general and some of the issues you will run into this semester using this as an example. And in fact, we'll talk about one of these with this right away. So let's jump in here. So again, this is a tutorial. And one of the things we notice right away is that the you can select your version here, and again we're running Unity 2020.3, and the only version available is Unity 2019.3. So right away we know there might be some issues where things in this version might not match our current version. That's pretty typical for these tutorials. Even in the official Unity tutorials, but certainly when you go on YouTube or places like that, a lot of them are out of date. And so you'll see a lot of stuff that applies, but there'll be also some little things that may not fit here. Okay, the first thing we want to do, step one, is to open microgame, and you probably have done this earlier in this unit. If you haven't, again, you can run Unity Hub and hit New. And you should wait for all the apps to load in. And again, this is the karting micro game, and you can open that up. Now if there's a little download arrow like it shows here on this one, you may have to download it first. It takes a little while to download, and then you can open it up. You have to give it some name and then create it. But I've already done this, so I have this micro game right here for us. So once we wait and open that up, we'll be ready to go. Now, then it also talks about this machine learning agents and whether or not it's available and adding those. Those are in the current version of the microgame version, so you shouldn't have to worry about any of these steps. You can just go on to step 2, but I will show you how to do that search for machine learning micro agents. So let's just do a search. It says in the project window, so I can switch over here. I've got my game open now. Here's my project window, and there's a little search bar, and I can just type in machine learning or machine learning agents. And again, I do see that folder is here. I can also, if I'm paying attention, I would see it right there in the assets folder. So that is available for us. So we don't have to worry about adding it. Okay, let's go down. We'll mark this step as complete. I already done that. And then we'll pick up our new muscle car. Now, this is an interesting dilemma. In order to do this challenge, you have you have to have completed another mod, this microgame mod, and set that up. So in this microgame mod, you've got to make sure you have WebGL support. That lets you build and publish games to the Unity website and other websites. Now, if you're working in our computer labs, you can't do this because you need administrative privileges to add this support, and walk you through adding this module to it. And so that might not be available. But either way, we're not going to do that. So rather than doing this and setting this up, and again, the way that it shows you this is actually a little different this year because, again, we have a little slightly newer version of this. I've posted an alternative, and that is to download this package. So you can just, this is the roadster package you get from doing this. You can just download this package directly here, download it here. And then once it's downloaded, you can go into your Unity game file and do asset import custom package. So over here, you do asset import custom package, and then you'll locate that. Wherever you saved it, you open it up. It'll open up a window asking you what you want to import. It should have a whole bunch of things listed. All of them should be checked. You should import them all, and you should just say import. I've already imported this, so it doesn't let me do that anymore. Okay, so I'm just going to close this. Now, as we continue this tutorial, you may have completed the other tutorials in this game, and you might want to just hide this because it kind of gets in the way. So I'm going to go over here and do layout and switch back to the default layout, where we have a little bit more room, and then the tutorial window is not up here because we're doing a modification, not actually running one of the tutorials. Okay, so step 2, we really couldn't do, so we had to work our way around and we imported the roadster cart separately. Step 3 is to set up your cart as your vehicle. So open up the main scene and we want to disable the classic cart in the hierarchy using the inspector and unchecking this checkbox. Now one of the things you see, especially if you don't know what you're doing, you'll read instructions like this, select this in the hierarchy and you go, where's the hierarchy and where's the inspector? So it's good to know where these things are. But also when it says untick the checkbox in the top left corner, where is that? But again, if you know what you're doing, it certainly makes sense to disable something you know where you to check. So I'm going to go to my main scene here. I'm going to go to the classic cart. So again, I'm in the hierarchy and I'm selecting classic cart. So that's what they mean by that first step. Go to the hierarchy and select this. Now that'll display it in the inspector. And in the inspector, there's lots of check boxes here. But what they really mean is this checkbox way in the top left. And that will disable it. So let me just double click on this cart so we can zoom in on it. So let me zoom in a little bit more. Oops, there's our cart right here. So that's our player. And again, if I click on this, the player will disappear and it'll be grayed out over here. So you watch that one, it'll be grayed out and disappear. So anytime you click on something here, it will disable it. It'll keep it in your level, but it'll be disabled. It won't run or anything like that. For example, sometimes if we're working with this and we want to, let's say, disable the oval track or the whole environment or something like that, we can go over here and click on the environment and just disable that whole thing to clean things up while we're working on things. Okay, so that's what that button does. Okay, so we've done that step. Then we want to find a cart we want to add in project view, and it lists a couple here in the assets folder under karting and premium. And again, we usually want to add prefabs to our things. So over here in assets, so this is our project window in assets. Like under karting, there's some. Under karting, there's let me make this a little big. There's a prefabs option, and under prefabs, there's the classic cart, which we added here, and then there may be some more. Now, they say there's a premium option, but that's not listed here, or maybe we just haven't uploaded it from the assets window, but that's not available here. Now, we did bring in our roadster, and they just talk about that as being in this prefab in the roadster area, but that's going to be in a slightly different spot now. So it comes in as an add-on. So go add-on. Here's our roadster, and again, we don't want to just add the models or the materials. We want to generally go to prefab. Now there's two roadster prefabs here. Question is which is which. Now what I often do is see this little scroll bar over on the right, bottom right. If you switch that around, it'll make things smaller, 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 but at some point I switch to a list view, and this is where I prefer it. So here's our two prefabs. Our prefabs are shown with this icon, and one's the roadster player, and the other one's the roadster machine learning agent. And for now, I'm just going to add the roadster player on. I'm going to go back to where our cart was and put this new roadster player on. So again, I can drag it right from the project view right into my scene. Now you can't drag it into the game, the running game. You have to be in the scene mode. So make sure you're in the scene mode here, and then you can run it there. So we've added that. Okay, so and then now it shows it right up here. Now I want to just keep my hierarchy organized, and I have a whole section here for the player. I'm just going to slide that down and make sure I want it so it's in the line here, so it's not underneath this, but just as a separate item here. So there's my roadster player. I just moved that, shifted that a little bit. Okay, now let's go on. So I found a cart to add. I've dragged it. Now it's talking about we've got to add this, so we have something called a game manager, and there's a field in here that needs that. So I'm going to go back here and select the game manager up here, and there's lots of attributes. So there are lots of different components here. One of them is the game flow manager, and that's what they're talking about here. Go to that, and you can see they're actually under the game flow manager script. And we'll be later on creating scripts like this, and we'll declare some variables. So one thing it needs is a cart, and it's missing. So we can do that. So we're going to drag this roadster player onto this. Now a common mistake with new users is to just click on this, But as soon as you do and let up, then it shows that the roadster player in your navigation. You don't have anywhere to drag and drop. So what you have to do is make sure you have Game Manager in the inspector, and then click and hold this. And while you're holding it, drag it over here and drop it onto that. So that's what they're trying to show in this little animation. See how they click on something and drag and drop it on there. But it's, again, sometimes hard for new users to do that because they want to click and then they click and drag, and that's not. You just have to do Alt-1. You want to press, hold, and then drag here. Now you can also set this up so that it automatically finds the cart. So since this is selected, we really didn't need to do that, but we're going to leave this. I'm not going to auto select it. I'm going to have it make sure it finds this roadster, because again, I have this classic car. I don't want it to use that. I want to use the roadster. Similarly, okay, auto find, talking about that. Now they want us to find this camera and set up the camera view for it. So I'm going to go find my camera. So right below the game manager is the camera. Now there's also the main camera here, but we're going to use this virtual camera, which follows the player around and is used. And again, there are different components, a collider component and a transform. We just want this part of it here. And there's two things that are missing: the object it should follow and the direction it should look, the look at direction. So for the follow object, we can again drag our roadster player here and drop that in there. Now, and that's what they're showing here. Drag that in. Now they also want to have you go into the capsule and drag the capsule into the next part, the look at. So one thing you have to watch is that on some of these things there's an object made up of other objects. So under roadster player there's a little triangle here. I can expand that, and here's the different parts of that, and one of them is this capsule. So this is just the capsule here, and it's basically just points the direction the player is facing. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the cinematic virtual camera here, and again down, where was it again? So here we did the follow, we want to do the look at, and so now I'm going to go find this capsule, not the whole roadster player, but this capsule, and drag that in here. And what that'll do is, as the player drives around, we don't always want the camera facing the same direction, because the player is actually turning, and we want the camera to turn as the player turns, to be facing the same direction as the player. And so this will allow, it'll take the direction from that capsule and give that same direction to the camera as it follows along. Okay. So that's another thing you sometimes see in these tutorials, is they'll tell you what to do, but not exactly why to do it. And so sometimes you have to ask yourself, why is this being done? And sometimes you have to drive it. Sometimes you have to just try not doing it and see what happens, and do it and then see what happens to see. So sometimes you have to kind of experiment with these sorts of tutorials for this here. And then we want to play and save this stuff. So again, I can just do File, Save to save this scene. I should be able to then play this scene and run. And so hopefully it'll be playing now with my new roadster car here, so I can drive that around. See where I go. Okay. So that seems to be working okay. And so now I can mark this step as completed. And since I've logged into these tutorials with my Unity ID, it will keep track of which ones I've completed and which one I haven't, which is sometimes useful if you do some of these and then quit and come back. So now the next question is can we turn this into a smart cart and add a smart cart to our track so we can drive on. So there's a number of these ones. There's certain carts that are listed as machine learning agents here, and setting that up. And so, like I said, back here we had the roadster player and the roadster machine learning agent. The machine learning agent is like autonomous AI version of this that will drive itself around for that. So again, they talk about some of them and where they're at, but again, some of these are not where they want to be. One thing you will find is, let's say you want to find this classic car ML agent. You can generally go down in the project and just search for part of that. So I want my ML agent maybe. and it'll list out, here's the classic car agent, and here's the sensor, and here's the roadster agent. And again, I want generally I want prefabs, which is this certain icon. And again, depending on how much you've zoomed in on this, it'll be different icons. But that's one reason I like this list view, is I can always see that icon and see. So I could use that and put one of those here to race against. So I'm going to leave this. I think I've got enough. It showed you the basics, and we've learned some stuff about this tutorial for this, but you could follow it on and add these scripts and set up these AI checkpoints and stuff. But I'm not going to do that for the rest of this tutorial.